All right, we're back with Systemically Distorted Communication. Today I've got my brother on here, the man, the myth, the loser, Billy.
Why'd you have to ruin it?
Sorry,
It was going so good.
sorry, it was going to be cool, but I can't give you the same title that I gave Couture when he gave me the birthday call out. So, yeah,
Well,
you don't deserve that.
I'm kind of pretty similar to him, but okay.
Your wrestling ability is pretty similar. I
Yeah,
just
we
kidding.
have
That's a
near same accomplishments.
that's a big insult to Randy. Before we get into this, if you don't like fight talk and you have no interest in MMA, go ahead and switch it off now. I appreciate that you already gave me the download. I appreciate you're here. Appreciate the view, but you don't need to listen to it if you hate fighting. But if you like it, you're into MMA, give it a chance. Got some real stupid stuff that my brother's probably about to say. You're going to want to hear it so that you can send him private messages and tell him how dumb he is. All right, Billy, how's it going, little guy?
So, not really sure how to address anything that you just said. Um, I mean, you could come back a little more polite, and probably your podcast would work a little bit better. I'm assuming that this isn't how you treat every guest, but
Every episode, I start off with a barrage of insults.
well, I'm sure you're going to have a lot of people lining up to come on. It's going to be great.
Are you saying that insulting doesn't interest people on coming on a podcast that they don't know?
Well, I think you could do a more subtle approach, but I mean, who knows? I don't think anybody's really taken that approach. So maybe, maybe you're a groundbreaker.
I think I might be.
I think you might be too.
I mean, Spotify did send me an email the other day and they're like, hey, we're kind of like over Rogan. We want you. And
Yeah,
they
you're
saw
the
my
2.0.
episode, some of my recent episodes, and they're like, you've got a new take and Rogan's not making the cut. And I told them no, just because I didn't think it was fair. Like they made a deal, they made an agreement with Rogan, keep the deal, right?
Yeah. And you're a fan and a friend. So, don't stab the guy in the back. Don't bury him.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I figured you'd agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's just keep it simple.
All right. So let's get into it. Apparently, you have a stance on something about something. Let's hear it.
Well, I do have some ideas about some things. And I formulated kind of some ideas from those things that I think about. So that's why I'm really glad you brought me on, so that I could share the things I'm thinking that I've formulated throughout the last few weeks.
All right. So a few weeks ago, you just started thinking about something,
Yeah.
and that stuff made you think
Yes.
more. And then you thought, I have something.
Exactly. You're spot on, dude. Spot on.
Cool.
No, so yeah, I started thinking it was during the Conor McGregor Dustin Poirier fight with the calf kicks.
Mm-hmm.
And calf kicks had been happening. So what do you think? It's been maybe, I don't even know if it's been 2 years, but they've become prevalent, we'll say at least in the last year, where more guys are starting to throw that calf kick.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know that you don't watch Bellator because of the name, but
I don't.
I think it was probably 2 years ago or so, maybe more. I'm not sure, when Brent Primus beat Michael Chandler because he did the calf kick and Chandler's leg went wobbly mode. He couldn't put any weight on it and his ankle just kept rolling. And then they end up stopping the fight on that. And that was the first one that I think that was the first one I can think of when I actually saw the calf kick just stop the fight in that moment. I mean, unless you're going back to, Anderson throwing kicks and getting checked, which wasn't really a calf kick, but
yeah, no, it's been prevalent in my mind just recently where guys are starting to use it. And so I was thinking that maybe I'm biased when I was having my thoughts about the calf kick. And then the last fight night I watched, the commentators were talking about it. And they're working for a company, so they can't exactly say exactly what they're thinking, but they were talking about how devastating it is. And I can't remember if it was Michael Bisping or Paul Felder said, yeah, this could become the ultimate calf kicking championship. And
Yeah.
then when they said that, I was like, wait a minute, maybe I'm not crazy in my stance on the calf kick.
Mm-hmm.
So where I was really feeling like the calf kick could eventually, I don't think it's an issue now, but I'm like thinking, because of the fights I've seen in the future, what if that is such a devastating tool that now it will 100% change the stand-up game. So, and it does become the calf kicking championship. So I realized it when I was watching Pedro Munoz versus Jimmy Rivera, which it was a really good fight, but Jimmy Rivera was compromised. I think he started doing it in the first round, but I think Jimmy Rivera started not being able to post on that leg correctly in round 2. And I was like, okay, so what if that ends up being so devastating that now rangy fighters, lanky fighters, they can land that calf kick. They can start doing it in the first round. Any fighter that has the wide in and out stance, the good strikers that use more of hands, now become completely ineffective, because that front leg being so far out, it's so easy to throw. So you have to commit more and come in for like a thigh kick, and you're bringing your leg up farther. But to whip that out on the calf, what if that just becomes a thing?
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of good scraps that you would have seen will now be, 2 rounds of a guy on a compromised leg that can't post, can't throw hard.
Mm-hmm. But doesn't that open the door to then, okay, so if one thing becomes more dominant, so let's say these calf kicks become more dominant because you've got a lead leg that's extended farther than maybe it should be, like in boxing or just pure stand up, they're not having their leg extended as far as in martial arts, so or in MMA. So wouldn't that open the door to stance changes? And then from those sorry, then from those stance changes, um, one, if they're going to do those kicks, they're going to have to get closer. So then that also opens the door to wrestling as well. So those people that are, their legs are getting taken advantage of, they change their stance, they go into a more narrow stance, which isn't great for wrestling. But then you have people that have to get closer to them in order to do those kicks, or they have to abandon the kicks, which then opens up to more wrestling. What do you think about that?
Yes. So I actually don't have a stance on the calf kicks yet. Like I said, it's still early days. And what you're talking about is the evolution of mixed martial arts. It's happened, 100 times with different techniques, that somebody comes in and does something that other people haven't done, and then people adapt to it. And then the same as the NFL, you get a running quarterback, and then in 2 years they figure him out, and now he's on the bench.
Mm-hmm. Like who?
So
Like who might? Who? Who
I
might?
don't,
Who might? What?
I don't know. I don't watch foosball, but
Okay, we'll just move on then. I was trying to connect this into a political world, but let's keep going.
yeah, I know. I was avoiding it.
Oh,
Um, so devil's advocate, because I'm not like saying make calf kicks illegal right now, but I'm saying, what if they were, because so everything I've listened to, even trying to check a calf kick,
mm-hmm.
it still does damage, because the way the foot wraps around and hits the calf. And they were talking about it on the last fight night, because that area is so small, there's nowhere for the swelling to go. And I think one of them even called it compartmental syndrome. So they actually have to if you take too much damage to your calf area because there's nowhere for the swelling to go, they have to cut it to relieve the pressure.
Mm.
So if it ends up something that you can't check and there's not a defense for, so this is just in my little fantasy world, say that more and more fights start ending with the calf kick over and over, and pretty soon fighting becomes pretty, like, I don't know how to describe it, but if that was stopping fights or making a person not be able to strike at all after one round, you take only 5 of them and now you can't plant on your foot anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Would the UFC ever go? Because you got to think, as a purist, everything should go, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the UFC is also entertainment. They're selling pay-per-views. Do you want to see fights being stopped by a guy getting kicked in his calf? Or do you want to see what everybody wants to see, which is knockouts? So I just started thinking about it, like, if that is as devastating as it seems to be, and guys are starting to use it, what if it starts making the sport less entertaining?
Well, what do you think would happen first? The UFC, like it getting so bad and fights repeatedly being stopped over and over and over, or fighters catching on to, this is a devastating situation. I need to learn it. And so I'm going to change my fighting style to overcome this thing. To me, it seems like the obvious answer is before the UFC ever had to take, or any MMA organization had to take action, that the fighters would adjust.
They will, but since I have a little feeble goldfish brain and I'm not a fighter, I don't know exactly what the adjustment can be, because regardless of the stance, that calf kick to me is kind of like a jab. Like it's a high percentage land with a pretty low risk.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I mean, we'll find out in time what the defense to that is. As far as the UFC changing the rules, if we're going to go by the UFC changing things to improve, that'll probably be a long ways off, because we've been having eye pokes with crappy gloves for since the beginning, and there's better gloves out there, but they don't change.
Yeah.
So,
well,
yeah,
I think another thing, like if we were to say, okay, let's take that weapon away, it also, to me, it's a little bit unfair for the shorter guys with not as much of a reach. So, for example, if I've got a friend at the gym and he's much, much taller than me, or you watched a brief video of him jabbing my face off for a while.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Much, much taller than me.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I can actually land on him, really, without getting at least hit several times trying to get in, is, a kick from the outside. So maybe I can just do a low kick, and whether it's effective or not in training, it's not, because we're wearing pads and whatnot. So, but when you put a situation like that with that tall, lanky guy, and then you have a shorter guy who struggles to get on the inside because of someone's length, one of their only weapons is that low kick. And so if you avoid that, and then now the other person doesn't have to worry about it, they can have their open stance, and that they can use their range in a way that they can't use it. If they're able to take those shots, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, but we have rules now of things that you can't do. And just the same way that you're saying fighters would adapt to the calf kicks, fighters could adapt to a rule change also. Like, what did you think about Alexander Volkov versus Max Holloway? Now, he wasn't throwing calf kicks, I don't think. I think they were up in the thigh.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think the kicks is what won him the fight. But
the kicks point wise, I think, is what won him the fight, especially their first fight.
Yeah. But let's say I don't know how many of those landed on the calf. I'm sure some of them did. But
But I'm saying if I was Alexander Volkov's coach, if they had a Max Holloway, Volkanovski number 3, which I think they need to have because both fights were so close. It's almost hard to consider him the champion because Max was so dominant for so long. And I think.
All right.
You disagree? Those fights were not super close.
They were close, but I had Volkan winning both of them.
Okay. Well, either way, if I was his coach,
I know everybody that I've talked to says they're so close, and I know online people are saying that Max won one of them or whatever.
I've heard most people think that Max won the second one.
I heard that as well, and I guess I'd have to watch it again, but I just remember thinking before the decision, in my opinion, I thought he had won.
So my point is that third fight could be amazing, but if I was Alexander Volkov's coach, I would say bring that leg down and just land on the calf. And because now that we're seeing how devastating it is and the technique that Volkov uses and the way he moves, he could do that all day. And we're kind of not going to see a fight. We're going to see somebody get their leg compromised within the first round. And then it's going to be a compromised fighter and Max is tough. So he'll probably do the same thing that Jimmy Rivera did, make it through the fight. But I just think the fights would be way more entertaining if that tool wasn't used.
Yeah, I suppose in some ways it would be, but it also takes away from the other people. If I mean, I struggle to find the difference between, when Uriah got his legs lit up by Aldo, those weren't calf kicks. I'm sure some of them were, but who's to say, oh, well, if he hadn't been immobilized by those kicks, it would have been a great fight. But instead, he can't walk because his legs got lit up and he could barely stand.
Yeah. The difference in the two, though, is it takes quite a bit more kicks to the thigh, the inner thigh, to make your leg not work. And I've never been calf kicked, but everything I've heard about it is it only takes a couple. And then that nerve, because of the swelling in that calf, like your foot quits working. And it happens way faster than, because of the mass of the calf compared to the thigh. It happens way sooner.
So I guess I'm going back to, in your opinion, what would be the argument against someone saying, okay, well, they're going to alter their stance. They're going to be heavy on their back leg. They're not going to put so much weight on their front leg. They're not going to have such a wide stance. What?
I don't have an argument against it. I think that's what will happen. I'm playing make believe that what if we couldn't find a good defense to it and it kept happening and championship fights were ended from calf kicks. What would that do to pay-per-view buys? What would that do to fan interest? Because you're not going to go to work the next day and be like, dude, I saw the sickest thing. So-and-so kicked so-and-so in the calf and he couldn't take it anymore. Fight was over.
I feel like that happened with Conor.
What's that?
I feel like that just happened with the Conor fight.
Well,
calf kicks. It was sick. He couldn't.
Well, fighter to fighter is going to be different. So I think there's going to be guys that will break because of it. And then there's going to be guys that won't break and then they get punched in the face and knocked out. So you're still going to have the knockouts.
Are you implying that Conor quit?
No, I was actually complimenting him because he didn't fall on the ground or pull guard or anything. He tried to go out on the shield and he got knocked out because of it.
Are you saying that only weak men pull guard?
Well, I don't pull guard.
I'm just trying to make a problem,
Yeah.
I want a headline.
Yeah. But not many people pull guard in the UFC. Frank Mir used to pull guard, but I can't think of a lot of people that actually try to pull guard. I think what's his name? He's really crazy. I don't like him. Eddie Bravo student. El Kakui.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He tried what's it called? Arm. I can't remember what the roll is called. Where you roll in and try to catch a leg.
Origami roll.
Aramari. Am I saying it right?
Harchimargan roll. Our
Funny thing about him that everybody forgets about, unless I'm thinking
roll. No,
no.
Arkadirkol.
I think it's Aramara.
I can't remember. I don't know.
Aramari.
Arimari roll.
Let's not spend a lot of time on it.
The rolly thing.
Quick thing about him, since I brought him up, wasn't he one of the guys coming off the Ultimate Fighter when he went to do a touch gloves and then just swung instead, and everybody's kind of forgot about it? I think it was him, and that's why I hated him from that fight on, and always rooted against him.
I do have a slight memory of something like that so long ago, but I can't remember if it was actually him. I've completely forgotten about that, but I do remember someone doing that.
If you hadn't given me such short notice, maybe I could have Googled it.
You've had weeks.
I've been working.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
so I hope you get my position. My position isn't to we should get rid of calf kicks or anything like that. My position is I'm just kind of thinking about in the future, what if there wasn't a good defense to him, and great fights that we want to see kept getting ended from a calf kick. That's just not super exciting.
Yeah, it's not. I understand that. It's just that taking them out seems so wrong. It's like if we want all aspects of fighting to the best of our ability without biting and ripping people's eyes out and stuff.
Yeah, but think of what GSP could have done if headbutts were allowed. You can't get out from under him, and he could headbutt your face while he's mounting you. But it's not allowed.
I don't feel like headbutts are the same, but I don't know why.
Headbutts are more exciting.
They are.
Calf kicks.
More exciting. I don't know. Why is a headbutt not allowed? I don't like this example
because a headbutt's not allowed because of how it's perceived, what it looks like. When a sport was trying to be made, they went the brutal route, and then they tried to rein it back.
I'm thinking illogical, like a modern reason, but I guess you don't really need one if it's just been around forever. Same way with that 12-6 elbow. It's like no logical reason why.
Yeah. So how is a 12-6 elbow different than me getting you in a clinch and driving my knee through your face? Like you saw with what Michael Venom Page, I think, did to Cyborg, where he crushed his forehead in.
Like he cracked an egg. Just like.
Yeah. So that's legal. 12-6 isn't legal. Headbutt isn't legal. So I'm saying, bring in 12-6 and get rid of calf kicks, because 12-6 will be a lot more entertaining than calf kicks will.
I get it, but I've got a problem with it. I think people need to adapt. I mean, there was a time where wrestling was extremely dominant. It's still pretty dominant. Like a lot of champions have a wrestling background, but like they've done things like, I guess if you're just holding someone down and not being active.
Yeah, back in the dark ages.
Stand them up, but not even the dark ages. Like Ben Askren managed to make it his whole career through several organizations and then into the UFC, still winning fights with just pure wrestling, having zero boxing, or stand up, which now he's going to go do a stand up against a YouTube star and embarrass everybody potentially. But
yeah, this probably isn't true, but I feel like with almost no stand up training, mine's probably close to Ben Askren's. Probably not now that he's training for a boxing match, but through his MMA career, he literally put nothing into that because he knew I just got to get an ankle, I got to get a leg, and then it's over.
yeah, it just makes it makes me feel like if something becomes dominant, people get really good at something. People before were saying, well, let's make rules against, when the counter fighting, that there was like a short time where counter fighting became very, very, it's like very popular. And some people will say, oh, it's always been popular, but to the extent where they're backing up all the time, anytime there's engagement, they're basically backing away from it and then doing counters. And it became like that Lyoto Machida era where it's just like jump back, jump in, one strike, jump out. And it's like, I don't want to watch running. I want to watch fighting. And people start saying, oh, we should start deducting points for moving away. So if they had done that, it would have completely changed the sport. But over time, people developed an ability to figure out how to deal with that. And then he ends up, getting beat several times.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be similar to that. And yeah, it sucked during that period where people couldn't figure him out because the fights kind of were boring until they weren't. Like it's boring. And then suddenly it strikes.
Yeah.
Great.
You have three rounds of boring, and then he finally lands that shot that he's been trying to do. And then it's an exciting finish, but you spent 3 rounds kind of like eating popcorn going, all right, well. So I agree with you. I want to be optimistic that the great minds in MMA, the best coaches and all that will figure out something that, oh, you want to do the calf kick? Well, now this is going to happen and you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
But like I said, my feeble goldfish mind that doesn't fight can't really think of how you stop somebody from flicking. It's like trying to stop a jab, but now it's a jab with more reach that's super devastating and completely debilitates your leg. So I don't know how you stop it.
I think that they would bring it. So I've been talking to some friends of mine, and Toby, the guy that I do the other stuff with and train with, he's a kickboxer and he does several other things. But we were talking about Muay Thai and how calf kicks have never been a dominant thing in Muay Thai, and that stand up with intense kicking. And we were both kind of wondering why calf kicks wouldn't be a dominant force there. And fortunately, I can't remember the exact, he messaged a buddy of his. I can't remember the exact reason that he gave, but I think part of it was that the stance is completely different and they have more weight on their back leg. And so you're not really chopping them down when you go for that front leg because they don't have the weight on it in the same way. So it doesn't impact in the same way. So there's things that you can do to change your stance, which then open the door to other things. But it's an adjustment that has to be made constantly. And I think that's the great thing about mixed martial arts is that you have to take everything into account. And when you don't, you do pay the consequences. If a boxer comes and does MMA, he's going to get taken down and beaten. If a wrestler comes in, like Askren, he might make it a little while, but eventually he's going to get beat up. So each one of these different phases, if you neglect it, that will be the thing that will end up being your demise. And though calf kicks is like the current thing that people are struggling with, I think there's adjustments to be made. Maybe everyone needs to switch their stance. Maybe if you're going against someone that is throwing those calf kicks repeatedly, you need to train throughout your camp to know, okay, I need to be completely comfortable on my other side. And so whatever stance that guy goes in, I need to go into the opposite stance to avoid that kick being available. So I think there's a lot of different variations that can be opened up, and maybe changing the stance will then draw the person in, to try to hit those kicks, and it leads them in closer, which sets up an easier takedown. So I think there's a lot of avenues that canceling it prematurely or would do more harm than good for the sport, because then
Yeah.
the more we cancel, the less of a realistic fight it becomes.
I'll reiterate, I am not an advocate of it being illegal right now. I'm playing I'm playing a little game here because I was thinking about it, and then what validated my thoughts were the commentators making jokes about it. And I was like, oh, I'm not the only person thinking this, that like the calf kicks are effective, but they're kind of a bummer to watch. Like,
Yeah.
it's almost like the calf kick kind of feels to me the same as the like, but the calf kick's actually effective and devastating. But I have the same feeling when I watch it as when I watch the foot stomp or like the John Jones kick the thigh forward and hyperextend a guy's knee.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can win the fight by hyperextending his knee, but it's like, come on, man. Like, it just doesn't feel the same as like a guy going in there and beating somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's just me, but I'm optimistic like you are. I think people will adapt and change, and I think that there'll be some counter to it. To me, the most effective counter that I've seen so far was, because that kick's so low, that if you time it and just lift your leg, because you don't have to lift your leg super high for them to whiff on that calf kick. It's not like the thigh. So when Jimmy Rivera, he did it a few times, he was able to lift his leg all the way up out of the way. And what's his name? The Brazilian, Pedro Munoz, just whiffed on those kicks.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my whole premise is probably just paranoia, and it will do what you're saying. Fighters will change and adapt, or learn to time counters off of it, or lift the leg. But I'm just saying, imagine my world where it's so devastating that regardless of your stance, we have tons of fights ending from a calf kick.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine that world in the same way that I can imagine Arnold Schwarzenegger in a sci-fi movie on Mars. because though I get it, it's like, okay, well, what if we get to this point? And it's like, then that'd be a problem. But I just don't think there's any way for us to get to that point, because every single fight they're going to adjust. And I just don't think it's realistic that we would get to a point where that.
To me, it just, yeah, it's my own bias. It bugs me because I hate seeing fights like a fighter can be, it's kind of silly that I think that way, because a fighter can be compromised from any sort of strike. You know, you can take a knee to the eye and now you can't see out of that eye, or, you know, just a jab to the eye, and now you're a fighter with one eye. Well, you're compromised the same way you're compromised with a calf kick. It's my own bias, because a calf kick is just like, I feel like you don't have to put a lot into it to land it.
Mm-hmm.
And it can change the entire momentum of a fight from something that's relatively easy to do.
Well, when Anderson Silva got his leg broken, I remember some talk for a while saying that check should be illegal. Do you remember that? The way that he checked it, they say, oh, he checked it in a way that he purposely knew it could break his leg. And there was some hubbub online about why it should be illegal and whatnot. And it kind of like slowly disappeared. But do you remember that?
I don't remember hearing people saying it should be illegal. Here I am talking about calf kicks being lame and thinking that checking somebody's leg kick, I mean, I don't understand how that should ever be illegal. Like, you're trying to kick my thigh and I bring my knee up and snap your
saying, I remember reading about it, and I was just kind of scratching my head, like, how else should they block the kick? But you just have to take it.
Yeah, but that in my deal of the UFC being entertainment, it was pretty. I mean, sorry, Anderson, but it was pretty exciting seeing the guy's leg fold in half.
And
well, I could only watch it once, but
hold on, I just baited you, and you took the bait, and you are now excited and happy about this leg being broken because the guy that you wanted won. So let me now that
no, you didn't
admitted this.
No, you didn't bait anything. Because there's a difference between guy's leg folding around another guy's leg to a guy getting kicked in his calf enough times that he can't stand on it.
Yeah, but what if he just blocked it and his leg swelled up and he was limping around? Would it be less cool?
Yeah.
Okay. It would be, but it's the same action. But then would you have said, oh, if he hadn't blocked that leg kick like that, Anderson wouldn't have been immobile and he could have fought better?
Say that again.
If he did that check,
yeah,
and Anderson just became kind of immobile like Rivera was, then would you be saying, oh, that fight wasn't as good because that stupid check ruined Anderson's leg?
Well, I guarantee you 50% of people that are Chris Weidman nut huggers would be happy about it, and 50% of Anderson Silva nut huggers would be like, oh, that was
that's
late.
What I'm getting at. Like if Matt Hughes
watch what you say.
That's why I'm saying it.
You better watch what you say.
You took the bait. Now we're going. Well, I'm reeling it in.
Okay.
If Matt Hughes starts lighting up Frank Trigg with calf kicks,
then it's legal, dude.
Frank Trigg is getting jacked up. He's falling down. He can't walk. I don't think you'd be saying the same thing. And Frank Trigg fans would be like, oh, man, stupid. And you'd be like, it's fighting. It's fighting. This is fighting.
No, you're right. You're right. So I'm a little bit of a Conor McGregor nut ratter. So that was a bummer for me. But
that's the reason.
In my defense, I have no chips in the game for Jimmy Rivera or Pedro Munoz. I just watched that fight. That was the fight I was looking forward to on the entire card, because I knew it was going to be a banger because they had fought before.
Bang, bro.
Let me bang.
I feel like Connor is fresh in your mind and you were kind of maybe like playing with the idea. And then once the commentator said it out loud, you're like, oh, that's confirmation. I can go hard. And now let them put this in your mind and you are taking it.
We're all humans. We're all flawed. You might be right. Maybe a few weeks ago, my bias started. And like I said, I'm not advocating for getting rid of calf kicks. I just wanted to come in here and go in my Dr. Seuss world of of what if tons of fights started ending with a calf kick? Because so the Conor Dustin fight was a super high profile fight, and everybody saw how devastating it was. And then the commentation on Jimmy Rivera and Pedro Munoz, where they highlighted how devastating those calf kicks were and how it took away, Jimmy Rivera's ability to sit and strike effectively. So then fighters all get the idea of, I'm going to start throwing that. And then pretty soon you have a card of 10 fights and 5 of them end with calf kicks. I'd be like, man, this sucks.
You might be, unless they were all the guys you liked. Let me ask my next question. If Gaethje had beat Khabib because his calf kick, he actually hurt Khabib with those calf kicks, and Khabib wasn't in good shape, and his leg looked kind of messed up. If he had done a couple more of those, Khabib couldn't stand right, and he was able to end up winning because Khabib didn't have the ability to shoot in the way that he was supposed to.
I don't want to answer this question.
That's why I'm asking it. How would you have felt if Gaethje won that fight from his calf kicks?
Okay, let's go a little further though.
No, I want an answer first.
Gaethje wins the fight from calf kicks with
Answer
Khabib.
the question first.
And then he goes on to fight a bunch more people, and he keeps winning with calf kicks. He would lose me as a fan.
I don't think he would.
I would celebrate one win. Doesn't mean I'd
go good, and he's jacking people up. Because he's been kicking forever and lighting people's legs up. They can't walk. He's done that through his whole career. Well, not his entire career, but and everybody celebrates. Like you have the kicks are a serious issue when you fight Gaethje. You have to know how to prepare for them because he will make you completely immobile. And this wasn't about calf kicks. It was just kicks in general. And everybody it was a big thing with him, and it still is a big thing with him. So I think if he's lighting people up with calf kicks instead of a thigh kick, I
But
think
Gaethje's
he'll
kicks,
keep going.
a lot of Gaethje's kicks come from the inside. Like he can throw him on the thigh somehow when he is literally a foot from.
Does it through the clinch even better
So,
than on the outside, I think. But
so
that's
while
not.
he's doing that, he's vulnerable for counters really bad. If somebody was what? What's that look?
So now we need to.
With the calf kick,
More than
are
2 feet away. If you're more than 2 feet away, you cannot throw a calf kick. If you're clinching, it's like you're fitting the narrative to fit the guy that you like.
No, I'm not saying you can do a calf kick on the inside or the outside.
What?
What'd you say?
I feel like you're MSNBC and CNN.
Oh, no. You're twisting my words because I'm not saying depending on no, I'm not saying depending on how far apart you are, the calf kick is okay or not okay. My premise was get rid of it altogether. But because the calf kick, when you throw it, you're on the outside and you are not that vulnerable to those counters. You can't catch the leg like you can with a thigh kick. You have to really leap in, with a straight right or something, or.
Yeah, but you also said that it's a little different when Gaethje does it because he's like up in close and he's like this far away. He did
because, well, one, he's not calf kicking when he does that.
He does sometimes.
Sometimes, but he's mainly going for the thigh, and he's vulnerable to counters while he's doing that. If Gaethje was on the outside just throwing just to the calf, he'd be way less vulnerable.
Yeah, but that gets to my point is you have to make yourself more vulnerable for it to be accepted. So you need to be within a foot or else it's dumb because you're not vulnerable on the outside. That's like telling a tall guy. So if I tell Jacob, hey, when we're sparring, you can't jab me and you can't do a front kick to my stomach because it's not fair.
No, because everybody would enjoy watching Jacob jab your stupid face until you got knocked out.
I wouldn't. Not fair for me.
Well, but if you sent me a video of Jacob just kicking your thigh till you couldn't fight anymore, I'd be like, wow, that was pretty lame.
But wouldn't you also be like, why do you just keep letting him do that? Why don't you change something so he can stop kicking you?
But like, what do you change?
Thought of shooting, catch the leg and take him down, do something else.
So people are going to try to dive for ankles from a calf kick?
I would. I don't have a stand-up ability. I'll go for the ankle. I do what Randy Couture did against James Toney. Got from like 20 feet away.
The fact that he couldn't stop that takedown. I've never seen a shot farther.
Literally just fell on his butt.
It's like Bruce Buffer announced them. The ref said go, and then Randy dove from his corner over to James Toney's and somehow still caught the ankle, and he fell down.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm not a fighter. I'm not a doctor. So I'll probably, if more than 2 people watch this podcast, I'd probably get roasted really hard for what I'm saying. I get it. But I thought it would be fun to talk about.
I think it's fun, but I don't think I can't think of any scenarios where we realistically run into that situation. So and I think it is a big part of it is it depends who's fighting. If Connor had jacked up Poirier with those same exact kicks, I think it'd be like a very different story that you and I were having right now.
Well, I'm a Dustin Poirier fan.
I like you, but not as much as Connor. And I know that you're a Connor fanboy. So I know anything Connor did to win. It's like shoulder shrug. Oh, really? He shoulder shrug, messed up Cowboy? Really? Shoulder. It's like
shoulder shrug was sick.
Right to the face. Shouldn't be able to do it.
Did you hear Poirier talk about the shoulder shrug too?
Yeah.
Because they got into it up against the cage. Mm-hmm. And they were talking back and forth with each other, and Dustin hit Connor with a couple of them, and then Connor's like, oh really? And he hit him with a couple more, and Dustin even said his were way harder. I didn't like it.
Yeah, I remember. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I remember he made a comment about he didn't like those, or that they landed
They landed harder.
good. Yeah, but yeah,
I don't know, man. I guess I'm a sportsman, so like because I know the Dumock, but I've never gone into the UFC and used it because
you're too
I
dangerous.
just feel like where's the entertainment there?
Yeah,
You know?
I mean that's why I don't fight in the UFC.
Yeah.
I get paid to stay out. That's why I'm doing this. But I think a big part of it is actually the biggest part of it is if it's the guy that you like that does it, not just I'm saying you as in everybody. It's same thing for me. When I can't think of an example right now, but I'm a big fan of wrestling. Obviously, you are too. But when a guy I'm expecting to win on his feet gets taken down and held down on the ground, like
Yeah.
it pisses me off. Like, why are you wrestling him? Like, why are you leg humping him? It's like annoying. Why are you just holding him down? Stand him up. Stand him up. I'm thinking that in my head, but I know the reason why they're not. For the same
Yeah.
reason, when the guy that I like Matt Hughes, is holding someone down for 5 rounds, and I'm like, yeah, keep him on the ground. You got 20 seconds left.
Yeah. I'm super biased too. I'll celebrate 25 minutes of my favorite fighter holding somebody down, not throwing one strike. And then if my favorite fighter is a striker and somebody even reaches for the legs, I'm like, come on, bro, stand up with him. Don't be a puss.
Yeah,
So I'm super biased.
yeah. As am I. But
So
I also think I'm honest about it.
I'm being honest about it.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, I didn't know I'd come on here with my make believe. What if the sport went here? And you're going to hold it against me like I'm saying ban calf kicks right now.
You know the name of the
I've
podcast?
said numerous times
The
that
slightly distorted communication. I gotta set the facts straight, dude. Can't let you run your mouth and push disinformation to the world. I'll get
all right.
banned in like a second. I already got kicked off Facebook once.
Was it your content or you?
I'm not really sure. I think I was trying to like push ads that were not suitable or something. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
They didn't give me a reason, but yeah, they blocked me from advertising.
So we'll see. Maybe like a year from now we could do a calf kick follow up and see where it's gone, like how people have adapted to it, because these great MMA minds might have come up with something that nobody even throws the calf kick anymore, and then I can come on, you can make fun of me,
Yeah.
or the UFC embraces the calf kicks and it is called the calf kicking championship, or the UFC or the UFC is made
championship. I'm Bill Gold or wait, I just said Bill Goldberg. Dang it.
You're talking about Goldie.
Yeah. Why did I forget his first name just
Mike Goldberg?
Mike. Oh, welcome to the Calf Kicking Championship. I'm Mike Goldberg. My partner over here.
Yeah.
Then it'll probably be like who would be his announcing buddy by then? Maybe Paige Van Zandt. I'm here with my partner Paige. Or wait, no, Paige Vander. What's her husband's name? Vanderbilt Austin Vander something.
I don't know. I've never tried to know his name because I was jealous and
you would.
me.
You probably followed her, didn't you?
What's that?
You probably unfollowed her, didn't you?
I might have. I don't know. I'd have to look.
Okay. Well, before we wrap this up, do you have a pick for Adesanya and Blankovic?
So before yesterday, I would have put quite a bit of money on Adesanya.
Why before yesterday?
So because I was watching videos and it just depends on Jan.
Mm-hmm.
Saying that right? Depends on his game plan. What kind of concerned me is Adesanya's weight, which I get what Adesanya is saying about his weight. Like, why put on muscle? Like, he's comfortable in the frame he's in, and he's the best in the frame he's in.
Yeah.
But then Jan's going to be 220 some pounds. And so it depends on his game plan. If he's able to make it dirty, and I want to say, it kind of reminds me of like if he had a tactic like Tyson Fury did against Deontay Wilder, where he tired him out with his weight, that could be trouble. Because Jan has, I don't think anybody would argue with me that Jan has more power in his punch.
Are you saying that he will tire out Adesanya with his weight? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
So
if I was Jan, I wouldn't stand at a striker's range with Adesanya, because I think he'll be outstruck. I think he has more power. But if Jan wants to make it a dirty fight and get in on the clinch and that's going to be like, if Adesanya is really 195 and Jan is 225, he's going to have a 20-pound or 30-pound weight advantage on him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you know which octagon they're in? If it's the small,
they're in the small one.
Mm.
Which, when I heard that too, that's what started making me go, "Oh man!"
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I hadn't thought about that. So me and Toby, we did a review. I don't know if you saw it or not, but we did did you see the review we did with this fight?
No.
Well, you're obviously not much of a brother. Don't even support the things that I do.
Well,
anyway, we broke it down. That's one thing we didn't discuss because I just wasn't thinking about it at the time. But this different in the size of the cage it's insane. And if you haven't had different experiences in different size rooms, you would have it wouldn't even cross your mind. But the size of the room that you're in, or the wrestling room that you're in, or the cage that you're in, or the whatever room that you're in, just a huge difference. Not only for wrestling, but striking, movement, everything. So, and that was kind of my thing. If he can get on the inside and pressure him and not let Adesanya strike from the outside, use his range and technique and speed on the outside, then he can do much better and have a better chance of, grinding out a win or landing shots or whatnot. But if you're going to sit on the outside and let Adesanya move, use his footwork, and just pick him apart, I'm not sure that I see a knockout, but I think he can Adesanya can pick him apart for a decision. But then we also talked about, how often Adesanya gets hit. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he can take those same hits from Jan.
No. And yeah, so it's a smaller cage, and Adesanya does on occasion go into the firefight, and he does the thing where he will lean out of the way of a counter punch, and then he throws that left hook. He did it. That's how he dropped Whitaker, and then he caught Costa with the same thing. What's that?
He did it with Kelvin a lot as well, but Kelvin was able, even with his short reach, Kelvin was able to catch him a couple of times, and that's why he made the fight interesting, because he's that thing where you miss it by just an inch.
So now you've got a small cage. You've got a guy that's 30 pounds heavier and does have a knockout punch, has that Polish power. Mm-hmm. That's when I started. But I do that a lot with fights. I'm pretty confident in my pick originally, and then I hear the hype machine.
Yeah.
The promoters go out there and make the fight more interesting.
Yeah.
Like I said, months ago, I don't know if it was months ago, but when they said that they were fighting, I was like, oh, that's Adesanya all day. And now leading up to the fight closer, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. And then I kind of went back on it because I trick myself so often. It's like, I'm just going to stick with Adesanya and say, yeah, that's my pick. But I'm definitely doubting it in my head just because I see so many situations where he could potentially lose. But if he comes out, picks him apart, and wins, then I'll think, yeah, I don't know why I doubted him. It's like the hindsight.
Yeah, I've been 100% in how I think a fight's going to go. And then I listen to the hype man online. And then I go into the fight being like, oh man, this is going to be close. And then the fight happens exactly how I originally thought. And you're like, oh, I knew it. But no, I didn't know it. Are you going to?
You know how you know when you knew it? When you put money on it and then you win the money.
Well, if Washington wasn't so lame, oh,
Yeah,
actually,
it pisses me off.
I would have. I would have lost a lot of money on Chael Sonnen versus Anderson Silva because I would have put my entire mortgage that Chael Sonnen was going to win that fight, and nobody else.
Where you would have been in that
What's
last
that?
round. Just imagine you're about to just win so much. I don't know what the odds were for that fight. I don't remember, but it's like I put 1,000 on Gaethje to beat Khabib, and I can't imagine. I was like for 1,000, I was going to win. Like, oh wait, what was it? I can't remember now, but depending on which one I did a couple different ones, but there was one to win like 50,000. There's one to win 20,000 and one to win 10,000. I can't remember which ones I ended up doing, but anyway, I put 1,000 on it. And if he had dominated 5 rounds and then in the very last minute of the last round, like I
Yeah.
can imagine the fury that would rage through my body.
Yeah, that whole fight, I was also talking smack, saying, "I told you so, I told you so," and then he got
God.
caught in that triangle. But I would have thanked Anderson later because I would have done the same thing. I would have put my entire mortgage on Chris Weidman beating Anderson Silva, and that did happen. So everything I lost in the Chael Sonnen fight, I could have got back in the Chris Weidman fight.
Yeah, but Washington's really stupid. It's super annoying. And
Yeah.
I've been banned from any betting sites because they.
So are you going to put money on Megan Anderson then?
Yeah,
I don't know what the odds are, but I'm imagining she's like a plus who knows what.
a big plus, but no, I'm not going to put any money on her. I put money on things that I think are actually going to happen, even though I'm usually wrong. But yeah, it's pretty annoying.
So by you not putting money on it, I'm guessing you're saying that the Lioness is going to win that fight.
Yeah, I think a Nunes is going to probably dominate her. Wait, sorry, 1 second. I'll cut this.
Timestamp it. Hey, Casey. Did you timestamp that?
No. Sorry. Yeah, I've completely lost track. I'm not. Anyway, no, I think Amanda Nunes is probably going to win that fight without a whole lot of trouble, but
The only thing that's different about this fight is Megan Anderson is, dude, she's 6 foot tall. She's a real 145 pounder.
yeah, but
Some of the girls that she's fought at 45 aren't 45 pounders. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm playing devil's advocate. Amanda Nunes is going to win that fight, but that's the only thing that I can say if I was a promoter that could make it any different.
yeah, I with Amanda's ground game mixed in with that, it's like if she's having any trouble, like having
Yeah.
trouble connecting, getting it inside, I think she just takes her down and dominates her on the ground. But
Quickly before I go into the last one I wanted to say, which was Peter Yan and Aljamain, is there's only a handful of girls in the UFC that when you watch them punch, it's indistinguishable from a male fighter.
That sounds so sexist.
Yeah, but it's true. You've got Shevchenko.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Nunez. You've got who's the boogie woman?
Joanna.
Joanna. Trying to think of another one. Oh, the one Joanna fought. The is she Chinese?
Oh, yeah.
And
Uh,
then
the Zhang Wei Li.
yes, and then Andrade also throws with stuff. When I watch girls punch, if it looks like something that if they hit me once, I would quit. That's what my gauge is. And all 5 of those girls, if they hit me one time, I'd quit.
Well, you're also a quitter, so that makes sense.
Okay.
I would absorb the punch, and then I would like fly back with probably like some sort of roundhouse spinning back heel kick.
No, they'd hit you and you'd say, "I'm bleeding. That's what makes me the victor."
I'm bleeding, making me the victor. We taught him everything as the opposite, as a joke. I am bleeding, making me the victor.
So who do you got out of Jan and Sterling?
I don't know. With these two, I don't know a ton about either of them. I haven't watched them fight a whole lot. But I think I would go with Jan.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Sterling.
Why?
I think he's on fire. I think his win streak is more impressive. The notable last wins that Jan has are against Uriah Faber and Jose Aldo. It's not the same. Well, Jose Aldo wasn't looking as good. He's kind of made a resurgence and is looking better. But at the time when he beat him, he was on a decline. Same with Uriah Faber, is way past his prime. And the way Aljamain looked against Cody Sanhagen, and I like Aljamain Sterling more, so I'm biased. So
who were his other recent fights? I don't have it here.
He beat, I believe he beat Jimmy Rivera, was one of his last ones. Pedro Munoz, Cody Sanhagen. I could pull it up on ShareDog, and
I mean, I could pull it up too. I've got 2 computers here, but I was just wondering if you know.
Yeah, you're asking me.
Yeah.
I told you I have the mind of a goldfish. But I know they were notable wins. Like his last 3 were all big wins, unless I'm completely screwed up.
Am I gonna have mother?
Just Google it real quick. It takes 2 seconds.
Mother stupid. This is good quality entertainment.
I can sing in the background while you're pulling it up. And I.
Oh shoot! That is.
Why is your intro music playing?
Entertainment.
Which is the 4th time, because we tried to start this podcast 3 times before we got into this one.
Okay, so Sterling's record, he's on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fight streak. Corey Sandahagen, Pedro Munoz, Jimmy Rivera, Cody
Stamen,
and
so the one I don't know is his first fight out of the win streak.
Yes, you know who?
No.
Fight night, Barboza versus Lee. Right after he lost to Marlon Moraes. 2018.
It's not a big name. I know that.
Yeah, I'll give you $1,000 if you say the name.
Well, if I had prepared this, I would have it on my phone right now and I'd get $1,000. How about you just tell me who it is?
Brett Johns.
Yeah, wouldn't have got that in a million years.
That's why I offered you money. Brett Jones has a 17-2 record. His last fight was 2020. He beat Montel Jackson, similar to Montel Williams, maybe. Do you know Montel?
I don't know Montel Jackson.
Yeah, me neither. I know Montel Williams, the talk show host. Tony
Great show.
Bravely, he lost to Pedro Munoz and lost to Aljamain Sterling. Then he beat a bunch of guys that you.
Well, and here's the thing: the Marlon Moraes loss. If you watch that, I'm not going to say you can't call anything in a fight a fluke because it happened, but the way that knee connected when he was going to throw a kick, I feel like if that fight was a half a second off, Aljamain would have won that fight, because Aljamain's cardio and his grappling, and I'm sorry, but Marlon Moraes breaks. So I think he would have won that fight.
Yeah, maybe, but he doesn't have a whole lot of. Oh, whoops! I'm on Brett John's thing still here.
The guy we don't know.
Yeah.
Let's do a podcast on Brett Johns.
You know, if he listens to this, he's gonna have his feelings hurt. Why don't you be more sensitive?
Sorry, Brett.
Yeah. Sorry, Brett. Okay.
Sorry, I don't know you.
Corey Sandhagen, Peter Munoz, Jimmy Rivera, all good wins. Cody Stamen's a good win too. So those 4 wins are pretty solid.
They're pretty impressive. Look at Peter Jans. They're not as impressive.
So I have to do more searches here.
I'm just saying. I'm just trying to validate my point. Why Aljamain's going to win that fight. And Aljamain should have had a title fight a while ago. He's been sidelined. He probably should have had it even before he choked out, his last fight, Sandhagen.
Well, he's on a 10-fight win streak.
Yeah, look at the names.
Yeah, okay. I'm looking. I've got eyes going through on. So
he's been beat by wrestlers before.
Last 4: John Dodson, Jimmy Rivera, Uriah Faber, and Aldo are all solid wins. I get what you're saying about Uriah Faber. I don't agree with your Jose Aldo analysis. Aldo, I don't ever feel like he really took a dip. He's fighting very good competition, and he's always competitive. Faber, yeah, maybe so. But
would you put Dodson in the same category as the Sandhagens, the Riveras, the Munozes? I wouldn't put him in that, even on the same floor.
But not far off. I think he offers different challenges.
Speed.
But yeah, not quite the same level. I would put him a little bit below them, but he's still not a bad loss. Not a.
Well, of course not. It's not like he beat up me. Yeah, John Dodson's a good fighter, but he's just not at the level of those 3 that Aljamain beat.
He beat Rivera from decision, which I'm about to do some MMA math, which is not great. But Sterling also beat Jimmy Rivera, unanimous decision.
Well, this isn't MMA math, but Peter Yan has been controlled on the ground by grapplers and beaten that way. And Aljamain is pretty dang good.
Well, not much, because he's only lost 2. Oh, wait, shoot. Petre Yan. And stop saying Peter, it's Petre, by the way.
It's Petter.
It's basically what I said. You said he's been taken down and beaten by opponents on the ground. He's lost 1 fight.
Well, was that fight in Bellator?
Battle of the Lions, ACB.
No, I thought he was beat
against Magomedov,
which is clearly a grappler, just given by the name.
By split decision.
All right. Well, it should be noted too. I heard that Jan completely changed his camp up for a grapple heavy defense. So I don't know. Maybe he'll be prepared for it, but
Well, I would hope he's prepared.
I don't think with one fight camp though he's going to get to a Sterling level of grappling.
Well, I guess we'll see, won't we? You want to put money on it?
I'll do that.
Yeah. How much?
Are we going to make it friendly or are we going to get vicious?
You tell me. Are you confident?
Yeah, I'm confident.
How much?
Well, I don't know. I imagine you're fairly poor, so I don't want to. I want to make sure that you can still afford.
Does that poor man have a goblet like this?
Yeah, when you steal it from your brother's house.
I didn't steal anything.
Want to make sure that you've got enough for lunch and everything you need.
Oh, thanks. All right. Well, I guess we'll get into the amounts later.
Yeah, we can text the amounts. It's nobody's business.
Okay. It's like a penny. Or do.
But it's a lucky penny.
Okay. So you have
Aljamain.
Aljamain, Nunes, and Adesanya.
Yep.
And I have Adesanya, Amanda.
Jan.
Gone. My memory is slowly disappearing. I can barely remember what we just talked about.
Can I have a request? I know our first 3 podcasts we tried to do before this calf kick podcast. Most of it can't be aired, but can you please leave the foundation with hippos in? That was money, dude.
It was, but I don't know how to leave that in and not insult large groups of people. So I'll have to try to listen to it and see if I can cut out a couple sentences or not.
Well, actually, now that I'm saying it, if you're going to post it, let me hear it first so I can say whether you should or shouldn't.
Yeah, but I've got some good necklace content. Got some other good stuff.
If you're gonna treat me like a fool for your own benefit on your podcast, then yeah, I'm never coming on here again.
It was funny.
All right, we'll see.
Oh, last thing, Cruiser Casey.
I'm gonna go with my man that doesn't have ring rust, Cruz.
Me too. Decision or knockout?
Honestly, if I had known we were going to do this podcast more, I would have done more research on all the fighters, and I can't off the top of my head think about the fights that Casey's had. So I don't want to give a prediction on that one. I mean, I guess I just could. Cruz will get a TKO.
Okay. I went Cruz decision.
I think he's going to come in with something to prove because it's his first time on the prelims. And he doesn't have ring rust, and he'll get the finish.
Well, did you know that Casey's a multiple-time state champion wrestler and a 9-time USA judo champion? And
did you know that Cruz has excellent footwork and mixes up grappling and striking like no other?
Yeah, I get it, but I'm just saying, mixing up grappling against a guy with that skill level of grappling it's definitely a challenge, especially for a guy like Cruz taking a fight with a guy that has such a small name on an undercard as the prelim.
How's his striking?
It's good. It's really technical. It's much. I would say traditionally much more technical than Cruz, but Cruz has that unorthodox thing that you just can't prepare for super well. So we'll see. But his striking is really crisp, I think. He's got really good counters and head movement, I think.
This is my bias again. I have a hard time picking against the vets when young kids come and beat them. It always feels icky to me. I hate seeing it. So I'm going Cruz.
All right. Well, anything else, Captain? You want to share your social media or how do people get a hold of you down at the dam?
Drive out in the desert, Priest Rapids Dam. I'm there more than I'm not, and you can't come on site because of COVID. So
you're keeping Washington safe. Keeping the power on.
Keeping the power on. Yep.
Pushing the
1,000
buttons.
Yeah, 1,000 megawatts at a time. Just making sure that we got heaters here. And
Is
yeah,
there a way that you can hook up a little wire to the gate or something and just run a string from there to a property and get free power? Is that how it works? Any chance of free power?
yeah. Well, I'm already doing that.
Okay.
I hooked about 370 extension cords together from that dam to my house, and I run our microwave off of it. So that's free cooked food.
Does it cook any like faster than a normal microwave? Like,
No, it's actually slower, but it's free.
I would argue that, or some people might argue, I wouldn't because I know better, but some people might argue that those 300 extension cords cost more than going to Walmart and buying a $20 microwave. What would you say to some stupid idiot that says that?
I would say don't be an ignorant fool and buy your extension cords, steal them like I did, and then it's nothing but gains.
I'm assuming you stole the extension cords from the dam as well as.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, from my employer.
Okay, cool.
Somebody might argue though that for what I make for a wage, it wasn't worth the 12 hours that it took to hook the extension cords up.
Nor the consequences of your employer hearing this.
I'll lose my job.
Okay.
The good news is I don't think there's ever been 300 plus extension cords in the dam. So I would hope that they would know and when they drive out of the dam and they don't see a string of extension cords going down the road, that I should be okay.
Well, way to ruin the bit. Okay. Well, any last words then?
No, you suck. Your podcast is a joke. You brought on a special guest before this podcast that I didn't appreciate because I despise the person, and you ambushed me and belittled me, and it's been a really good time.
All right. Well, with that, and for anyone that doesn't know what he's talking about, it may not be published because of the content is not not suitable for the public. So it might
Not
be
2021 worthy.
Yeah, probably not.
2018, we would have been fine.
Probably.
All right.
All right. Well, peace out, sir. This has been Systemically Distorted Communication. And until next time, enjoy. Beep, boop, boop.